an education at the School of Technology. And I asked her several questions that I did not feel were natural inquiries. And I could feel her discomfort. Now, as an Uber driver, I traditionally would stay quiet if my customer wanted the environment quiet. If my customer was talkative and friendly, I would return conversation. If my customer was having a bad day, take a moment to share some personal experience, or if our conversation overlapped with any sort of personal experience of which I was engaging, I might take a moment. Hold on one moment. Is that woman? Okay. Just go. I'm on a live. Are you sure that that woman is not following you?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. Anyhow, I took it upon myself to engage with these individuals in a way that was both appropriate as well as comforting. And that's a two-way street. If I didn't feel much like being communicative, I was not, in a conversational manner or mood, then I would answer with politeness and respect, and maybe turn on a TV show or turn on the radio. I took about 5,000 approximately Uber and Lyft riders. Some of these rides were an hour or longer. And I've taken probably more than that, I'm sure more than that, in food and package deliveries. I've worked making these deliveries in various states, including but not limited to St. Louis, Georgia, Florida, Illinois, of course, Tennessee, and I believe Alabama. Now, my reviews and my record is outstanding, in the sense of I have great reviews, I have great rapport, great customer service, great accuracy, and I was even named Driver of the Month by one of the platforms. So I feel as though when I'm working on my current platform, I would expect the same or better. Typically, human beings, as they interact with or learn a skill set, they get better at it, and their abilities only improve. It's very uncommon, unless there is some sort of external interference, likely malicious, not always, that a human being would be engaging in a repetitive behavior and not improve in that behavior. In dealing with the stalking and the people following me and the harassment that I've been experiencing intermittently since approximately 2019, if you go back to the extortion by Detective David Shepard and the conditioning and grooming and other methods that were used against me to kind of steer or manipulate my free will, we can go back all the way to 2016. I can feel numerous different occurrences of very strong shifts in goal and energy around me. And sometimes they inhibit 100% of my ability from speaking in a way or behaving in a way that I would deem appropriate, ethical, logical, practical, lawful, etc. I am not alone in this understanding. There are experts in my field who have incorporated the use of technological advancements to understand the dynamic of which I'm describing now. I gave a ride to a woman, and as I had understood, or as I had observed, I felt as if in reverse, when I was responding in the way that I perceived that woman to be responding, in the way that I felt that woman to be responding, like she felt as though I had information about her that she did not feel comfortable sharing of her own will. I have felt that, a lot, more times than I can count. Despite the fact that I could feel that going on, and this has happened in a few other exchanges as well, where, as I said, I'm the one who is being asked these things. And despite having the understanding, the woman just kept on, giving different answers and never expressing any clear concern or discomfort. Her body language didn't say that she was uncomfortable. Her language, her verbal language and communication didn't say that she was uncomfortable. It was nothing inappropriate. It was genuine questions about technological advancement in the field of ophthalmology and various advancements that have been made within. As if for anyone who didn't know, I was the office manager for an ophthalmology practice for approximately 6 months, just after the 6 years that I worked, or maybe it was 5, that I worked at Northwestern, right here next to where we're driving now, as the administrator for endocrinology and rheumatology. And so I had a lot of genuine, and still have a lot of genuine interest with regards to technological advancement and all of these various career paths. With that being said, I also have 4 biological children. Most of you know that. If you're here, most of you know that. Prior to 2019, my children lived with me, and I was named the primary custodial parent of all 3 of my children who were born prior to 2019. The baby in Chicago and in the United States of America has done nothing to continue to parent my children, and has done much to interfere with that ability. The discussions and conversations of which I had in my Uber and Lyft and in various settings were honest, truthful, to the best of my memory and recollection, and completely non-predatory in every way. During many of my Uber and Lyft rides, external malicious third parties engaged in the use of various technological features to cause me to feel extreme amounts of pain physically, extreme amounts of discomfort physically, and even caused me to remotely urinate on myself in my vehicle. They would trap me in various very heavy, very difficult to drive calmly while you have to use the restroom in that way. And they would take over my GPS navigation and navigate me into a path of terrifying pain and unexplained pressure. My physical body is healthy. I don't have anything wrong with me, thankfully. But despite that fact, these individuals were permitted to intermittently utilize these functions, which I, at some certain points, would get so upset with. Not upset in a way that I could think about them or make any sort of, decisive, controlling effort to inhibit their ability to continue, but rather I would be trapped to be victimized by them, and I would not be permitted relief until I was screaming and yelling for help. This has continued. I currently, as I said, have been driving food deliveries. I have been receiving deliveries. I was promised to be receiving deliveries, 5 to 10 double-digit deliveries each day, that no one would be permitted to stalk or follow me, that I would be protected to make these deliveries so that I could continue to save money and work towards my ultimate career path of working as a consultant for the fields of medical, possibly hospitality, and with regards to certain criminal ventures that I unfortunately have had no choice but to learn. The pay for consulting service is much higher than the pay that I'm currently receiving to deliver food and packages. Rather than getting the $20 to $40 per batch of orders and receiving 5 to 6 orders, I've been getting $2 offers, $3 offers, $5 offers, and then after panicking and being very concerned, sometimes even crying because I'm so confused, they're promising me that there will be no more predatory circumstances permitted. They've promised me in a number of ways that none of this will be permitted to continue, that the unlawfulness with regards to the handling of my children, that the predatory environments, that the blatant isolations from my family members and social groups would not be permitted to continue. Xavier, do you want to say hi? And so I trust that. And repeatedly, they have just ignored their commitment and offers that they to go to one of the south side areas of the city of Chicago. I am not permitted to do deliveries in the south side of Chicago anymore, and I have made that clear. My territory is 60611, the Gold Coast River North, all of the hotels and apartment buildings in this area. That is my primary territory. I've been assigned. I need to understand these $5 orders. I need to understand in what universe or realm of reality a person who has the ability and desire to create consulting services, healthcare, legal, medical malpractice, etc. Where is it acceptable to hold this person in a space of oppressive reimbursement, similar to a person who might have English as a second language and no education in this country? I don't think that it's acceptable. And when you add in the fact that not only am I being offered the same pay rate or even less than those individuals, when you also consider the stalking and harassment and name calling and ridiculous lines of questioning and interrogatories and interrogation tactics, I've got to wonder, what is the goal here? And what's more, what is the resolution? Everything that has been requested of me, I have complied with 100%. The court has requested that I, despite never having had an addiction in my life, complete addiction classes. It's done. The court asked that I do addiction therapy with West Care and Task. Finished both of them. I've never been addicted to a substance in my life. The court asked that I be compliant to individualized therapy. I've gone to therapy for the last 2.5 years, and the therapist agrees that the occurrences going on around me, the issues that I'm being subjected to, are unlawful, unethical, inappropriate, and that there likely is not an issue with my mental health, but rather whomever or whatever is causing these other issues from day to day. My goal since I was a little girl has been to create a career path for myself that my children could be proud of, that they didn't feel hesitant to share with their friends and brag about, that they thought that it was morally and ethically aligned with the ethics, values, and belief systems of the generations of my family members before me, my grandmother, my father, my mother. My mother worked 6 days a week the majority of my life. In fitness administration, she was the CFO or CEO and vice president of purchasing for Bally Total Fitness for, I believe, 15 years, and had a similar job with Export Fitness. My sister has an administrative job in fitness. My father worked for the village of Itasca, working with his hands, driving a snowplow, filling potholes in and around the city. My grandmother worked in administrative capacities for early phone companies, Bell Phone, AT&T, rather. My grandfather drove a crane that helped to build the Sears Tower and lay the foundation for that amazing architectural feature that the city of Chicago still to this day offers to tourists and houses many, many administrative professionals from. I was willing. I was not being. June 30th, I believe, or July 1st. Xavier, would you mind checking the date, please?
Second.
Oh, gosh. July 2nd, 2026, 6:20 p.m., sitting here in the Gold Coast in front of the Bloomingdale's building. I do not consent now, nor have I ever consented to myself, my children, any of my family members, or anyone else to be used or abused or exploited or perpetrated or presented in a way that is unlawful, untruthful, unethical. All of the higher powers who have the technological advancement to prove exactly what I'm saying is true, I would ask that you get involved. And with regards to the high value deliveries that I'm being asked to make to the city's south side, I have not been able to make one of those deliveries in the last, I would say, close to 6 months as a guess, without there being some sort of setup attempt, sabotage attempt, harassment. Xavier, do you recall what happened when we got a $27 order 2 days ago? And although I had already said I was not going to take those orders anymore, do you recall what happened when we attempted to give it one last try? One of the orders was inverted. The other order was canceled. The delivery address was chained shut with a padlock and big chains. It was filthy everywhere that you looked, and Xavier observed an individual attempting to break into a vehicle across the street from the restaurant that I was tasked to pick up from. Apart from that, anytime I've made a delivery attempt to the University of Illinois, Chicago, about the technological component of my cell phone and the application that I'm using completely freezing up and me getting stuck there for 40 minutes at some points for a delivery that was advertised to be 2 to 5 minutes, start to finish. I've reported all of these issues regularly to the customer care departments, and I would like to be paid more than the federal minimum wage. Currently, I'm being paid about half of the federal minimum wage. Anyone who knows that I am very intelligent, specifically, but not only to the field of healthcare administration, healthcare, medical law, and ethics. I also have numerous other interests. I promised to answer live for the record today in 2026 several questions that have been asked of me over the last several days, including but not limited to when and where electronic medical record implementation began to take place. To my knowledge and understanding, the federal government said that medical records must be transferred from paper charts to an electronic format by 2010. Anything past that was going to result in large fines and even the inability to see patients for doctors practicing on an individual basis, and for large corporations, fines were very likely. Medicaid and Medicare, you would not receive any payment if you had a government-funded insurance plan. So if you were a physician who was practicing in 2010, 12, 14, 16, and beyond, and you did not have the ability to bill and code through an EMR, electronic medical record, it was very likely that you would receive no reimbursement at all. The way billing and coding is conducted within the healthcare field is that CPT codes to label symptoms and likely diagnoses based on symptoms presented. When you bill and code for visits, you typically have 5 levels available to bill and code on. The highest level gives you the highest level of reimbursement. The lowest level gives you a very basic level of reimbursement, usually between $5 and $10, and a nurse would be able to take those visits. A doctor's phone call would qualify for billing under the lowest level visit. For an established patient, from the top of my memory, I believe the code was 99214 in the specialty field. My exact level of expertise changes from field to field. I have a general understanding, higher than most people, of the entire medical field with regards to many different aspects, but specific to endocrinology and rheumatology, I do have a little more understanding. So when electronic medical records converted from paper charts, the doctors needed to either close their practices completely or hire their staff or additional staff, sometimes to work overnights, sometimes to come in before or after the patients were scheduled, and an abstraction of the chart was performed. That means prior to the doctor seeing the patient in the office, and all of the electronic medical records and electronic health records were modified by template. So each physician from specialty would have their own template that they could personally design. If you were working in corporate, you were working in a capacity of working together with other specialists in your field to provide the best template that would be required or needed. If you were working in private practice, you'd have more freedom. Software developers who were designing this were working with an open API system that was coordinated with the pharmaceutical records and other insurance records, including but not limited to imaging and diagnostics. So when you looked up a patient's name, the patient's name was associated directly with their identity by social security number, address, phone number, and other date of birth. You could easily match the patient across all of the interfaces. Inpatient hospitalizations were a different system than outpatient medical records. Inpatient hospitalizations for the downtown area at most of the major hospitals was charted in a computer software called Epic, EPIC. We used AthenaNet in the outpatient setting. The significance of understanding any of this is dependent upon the goal. When you discuss forms of employment and financial stability and prosperity, you have to understand that in knowing all of this, dependent upon universal basic income allowances, dependent upon the demographic of which you're permitted to practice or share your skill set, there are different uses and needs for all of these things. Knowing what someone knows or a facet of some sort of information gives people a lot of ideas as to what you can provide and how you can be useful. In the case of possible medical malpractice or investigations into medical malpractice or medical fraud or other things of that nature, mistakes that could have been made, switching from a paper charting system to an electronic medical record made things a lot more clear. In electronic medical recording, there is something that can be performed called an administrative audit, which means that even if someone goes into your medical record and makes a mistake, If they go back into the medical record again and change the mistake, upon completion of a formal medical administrative audit, you'll have access to not only the dates and times that your chart was accessed, but also the initials and identifying names or login credentials of the individuals who actually accessed your medical record or any various patient's medical record. Doctors prescribed medications and wrote prescriptions for diagnostic imaging. Their assistants or anyone who had delegation for these processes were permitted to write these orders as well. After I personally would write orders, there would be a notes section in the electronic medical records that was never visible to the patient. It was a space that was left available only for the doctors and administrative staff to communicate with each other. It was an internal communication, if you will. Any prescription or diagnostic imaging that a patient needed, I would write an order for, and then I would send with an internal note to the physician prescribing or ordering very detailed notes. Patient called complaining of elevated blood sugar levels, said that they had 3 days of elevation in their blood sugar levels, is currently taking Lantus at the dose blank number of units per day. Should I recommend an increase? Here is an attached prescription. Please verify the dosage and quantity and send it back. So my doctor would only have to read my very thorough note and review the chart notes from her last interaction with the patient and the prescription, and the directions would already be written in an order by myself, and I would send it to her for her consideration to see if it was accurate or if she had any, changes to make before it would actually go to the pharmacy. When you were working in a paper charting system, there was no accountability to who wrote what or what they meant by what they wrote. Paper charts were historically only kept for about 7 years. Cute dog. Electronic medical records create what we refer to as a digital footprint. If you've ever had an Apple device, or even non-Apple devices, you would know that there are many different accessibility features with regards to using a technology called more commonly as time machine technology. This technology can restore any internet or application-based software regardless of how it's been altered or changed over time. So if you have a technological-based software where you have documented something unethical or unlawful, or maybe it was just an honest mistake and then you've gone back and you've changed it and you've made it correct, all of that will be restorable to specific dates and times. This is all very relevant to understanding healthcare and its evolution, to my understanding the things that have been going on with various forms of technological advancement that allow for external control in many various ways. All of the evolution of the EMR, it's all relevant to the evolution of healthcare in its industry as a whole. Doctors were able to be more precise, more direct, and spend more time making use of the time that they had. A prescription that would historically have been needed to be calculated could be calculated within the EMR's functionality. Dosings that doctors would have to reference a physician's desk reference to understand or remember, as medications have evolved, as have the entire industry, the entire healthcare industry. It would be impossible to expect a doctor in 2000 anything to recall every single dose of every single medication that they prescribe or did prescribe or would prescribe. A physician's desk reference is a commonly used tool for many, many years and decades that gives updates. Usually it's released annually or every few years. When the EMR began to pre-populate the diagnostics, one would assume that the interface was interacting directly with Big Pharma, and their input was not only required, but efficiently provided to incentivize ease of use. When a doctor can go into the computer and know, based on external programming, that a medication comes in certain strengths, and then they can just click from a drop-down menu, they can offer, as I said, a quicker, more thorough and accurate prescription for the patient. That results in more face time with the patient, improvements in bedside manner, the ability to focus on other things within the office setting. Many positive, impactful, causal, really amazing improvements to the healthcare field. I don't want, moving forward, in this entire and understanding, I think it's very important to understand that when the softwares were developed and implemented, most of the software developers were not doctors of medical fields. The information that they put into their EMRs, if you've ever referenced ChatGPT or you've ever any sort of dynamic within the functionality of AI as it's currently available on the market, that as you receive updates, your AI updates, its functionality changes and fast forwards, etc. If you know that these updates are being made, anyone who's ever owned an iPhone can understand the idea of an update, right? A bug is discovered, or an inaccuracy or something defective within the technological advancements, and a software developer or some technological interventionalist is able to diagnose and correct the issue. And then they don't have to go around to everyone's phone and say, well, let me see your phone so that we can fix this. They simply install an update, and we click and we all install the same update. And at the same time, all of the problems that we once had are resolved. Specific to healthcare, after the implementation of the electronic medical record, we had the same thing. And as the EMR became more intelligent and precise, so did the rest of the world. And so when we discuss, as my team has been so eagerly discussing, predatory and non-predatory environments and circumstances, I think that it's very fair and needed to understand that evolution solves problems and diagnoses things that are going on, but if there's a problem with the solution, that problem in some instances may have been non-malicious or non-predatory. And the ability to discover these problems and correct them is a high-value skill. This is like a super long live, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. If you've been following my case, you know my name is Heather Gillespie. I have 4 children now. When I started begging for help on the internet in 2019, after my third ex-husband, Dylan Smith, began the adversity of which he was involved with, I have been asking for direct lines of communication since 2015. To this day, 2026, the only direct access and communication that I've been able to establish with the higher authority has come without a name or proof of identity. I'm still working for below the federal minimum wage, and I'm frustrated. I'm still separated from my 4 children who I've given birth to biologically, and frustrated. None of the things that were spoken about me as a result of the time period of 2016 to 2019 or the reality show that was circulated after Dylan's release, inmate number 112173, Dylan Smith, were accurate. They were incredibly slanderous and inaccurate to my true character. 4 weeks ago, with Xavier as a witness, I asked ChatGPT, who is Heather Gillespie? And ChatGPT responded, Heather Gillespie is a reality TV personality who is most known for having drug problems, mental health instability, and homelessness. I started crying. My entire life, I've had my own place. My children have lived with me through 2019. I've never been addicted to a drug in my entire life. And I don't have any mental health illnesses. In the absence of access to anything in writing and an understanding about what is the expectation to move forward from this, can only continue to lean on the things that I know for sure. I'm asking today from a space of none of this is for entertainment. All of this is actual reality. I am not doing this for views or likes. I don't get on here because I want people to see me. I am asking that the authority intervene immediately. I would like whoever continues to refer to both Xavier and I as their dogs to be removed from service. I got an apartment about 2 years ago. It's not large enough for me to have my children there with me and Xavier and I. When I was 12 years old, I got certified as a babysitter and in CPR at the Courts Plus, Elmhurst, Illinois. I always knew I wanted to be a mother, and I always knew that I wanted to own my own home. No matter what career path I have chosen, no matter what career path I have pursued, those are the only things that have always remained consistent. My friends, fresh out of high school and college, all purchased homes. My peer group and District 205, Elmhurst, Illinois, they all had nice houses right after college or high school. I'm going into my 39th year of life, and I've never been able to make enough money to breathe. I've been loyal, I've been loving, I've been kind, I've been moral, I've been ethical. Currently, my phone is not being permitted updates. My iClouds are locked, and I have 2 backup phones that are locked. And the phone that I have been communicating with the DCFS with regards to my 2-year-old, if you've been following, I've been giving a play-by-play on every unlawful thing that they have done to me over this course of time, is also locked, including any evidence with regards to the allegations as I've documented them. This is our country, right? Should I say the Constitution? I'll pledge allegiance first. Xavier, will you join me in a pledge of allegiance? We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right? Or however you deem it appropriate. For the Constitution, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Preamble for the Constitution. We're here on Michigan Avenue, passing by Neiman Marcus. I have Tiffany's on the other side, directly across from Neiman Marcus. 737 North Michigan Avenue. We've got Ralph Lauren here, coming up on the left, directly across from the Walgreens on Chicago and Michigan Avenue.
We're going back this way, they can see.
Then you have the Water Tower Place. My favorite, the 900 North Michigan Avenue building. Absolutely gorgeous establishment. LED screens all over the ceilings.
Summer concert series. What is the plaza? Does it mean just down there where Benihana and Starbucks is?
I'm not quite sure.
This is summer concert series in the plaza. That just means walking down there.
I suppose so.
Confusing. If you turn the camera around,
I want to buy a house.
there's not that many people coming from the street. Earlier in the day, it's always more packed. Just millions of people walking back from Oak Street Beach. This intersection.
to healthcare consulting. I have been offered on a number of lines positions with regards to the defense of physicians in general. I would love to take that offer. I would need a home office and a safe, quiet place that's climate controlled to engage in that activity. They've referred to the opportunity as a front line of defense with regards to universal protections and communications surrounding any and all inquiries to deception or the perception of deception within the healthcare field and industry. Additionally, on other lines, I have been offered numerous other employment opportunities. I do not now, nor have I ever, of my own free will and volition, cared to engage in any sort of sexual relationship that is non-monogamous. I have zero desire. It does not work for me. It is not good for me. I cannot handle it. I have no desire to do so. As a matter of fact, I've gone on the record as well as off of the record and formally requested that the United States government get involved in desexualizing these predatory individuals. Desexualizing as in, I don't care by any means necessary if their water needs to be dosed. Desexualize these people. If actual containment of these individuals is not an option, desexualization most certainly is. If you can give a man Viagra and he can engage in healthy sexual intercourse, you can most certainly create a prescription to do the opposite.
It's a little socialist.
No, I don't. I think that the argument that there is anyone walking around of their own free will and volition who has or plans or regularly engages in that sort of behavior is unacceptable.
Randy and Melville developing such a lifestyle. Well, that's a big ass American flag.
I'm not quite sure. I want to remind everyone that with the exception of one meal at Ron of Japan, Xavier and I have been limited to one meal a day most days, and it's usually while I'm in my vehicle driving deliveries. We have not taken a vacation. I've never once been able to take a vacation with any of my children, despite the fact that I've worked since I was 14 years old. I had to have a work permit from the dean of my high school, dean of students from York High School, to get my first job at York Movie Theater or Mama Maria's or Roberto's. Those are my first three jobs. I'm not quite sure in what order. Despite that fact, I've never once been able to take a vacation with my children. I was in Jamaica in 2001 rather, in the Tranquility Bay facility for 11 months, despite not having a single record of criminal activity, promiscuity, or drug use. As a virgin, with no record of drug use, with no record of criminal activity, I was there. I've repeatedly reported that it is my interpretation that the women who were there, girls and boys who were there, were likely there against the best judgment of their parents. My parents personally were shown videos of this place to be something along the lines of a beach volleyball camp. It was not. After 11 months there, in what looked like a safari van to an American child, 4.5 hour ride to the United States Embassy in Kingston, incredibly poverty stricken. Molotov cocktails were thrown at our van as we entered the United States Embassy gates to get our passports. I was 14 years old. This demographic has not permitted me to purchase a pair of pants I've been wearing black leggings that I've ordered from Amazon that I have record of ordering for the last 2 years. I have 2 dresses, one of which was given to me in a donations bin. I'm wearing it now. And a blazer that cost me about $10, probably at Burlington or Marshall's. My shoes have been tattered and torn. Someone has removed the bottoms of the heels of my shoes and put screws in them. I haven't been able to take my children shopping. I work 7 days a week. My name is Heather Gillespie.
Disturbance. Systemic training.
There's a lot more that I want to document here that I'm aware of. But because of what's going on in court right now with my 2-year-old, I don't want to be too forthcoming. I've been charged with contempt of court for sharing the details of that case in previous videos. In 2026, we can be identified with biometrics. Biometrics based on the iris of the eye, fingerprints on our hands that are unique to each individual human. There are other biometric advancements and abilities that can be made by the measurements of our body temperature averages, and numerous other considerations. You cannot fool me into thinking that these people don't know how they've been making me suffer. I want to live in my own house where I don't have to wake up in the morning and find someone. First of all, my apartment has no air conditioning. It's 2026. I have been working since I was 14 years old. My apartment has no air conditioning. Do you hear me? I'm separated from my children. I work 7 days a week. I have above average levels of intelligence and interest with regards to technological advancements. I've repeatedly requested to be in various forms of education and career advancement. I've repeatedly demonstrated that I have the knowledge, ability, and wherewithal to engage effectively in a number of other ways, non-predatory ways. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and they force me to interface with individuals who say swear words and are crude and vulgar in their interactions and physical appearance. I don't have that life. That's never been my life. From 2016 to 2019, I had that life. Not because I wanted it, not because I consented to it. because they forced it into my life. It's 2026. I want my children and I want my own house. That's all that I've ever been asking for. There are no giants in the United States or the world larger than the reconciliation that the universe promises. This is not a movie. I'll circle back really quickly because there was no parking there. Sure. I have no furniture other than an inflatable mattress and a sofa wrapped in plastic wrap from Temu that costed $700 that I purchased for myself. I have maybe 8 to 12 pairs of black leggings, and I've specifically requested pants because when I go in to make my pickups, these grotesque individuals have been staring at my body in ways that causes extreme No, they haven't been Indian guys. They won't allow me to wear pants that are not leggings. They take photos of me and post them on various websites. They take photos of me and create slanderous narratives. They use all sorts of tactics to cause me harm and fear. They wake me up from sleep abruptly, pretending to be Xavier, and say that they're going to the fire escape to participate in marijuana consumption. I neither drink nor smoke. I have not used any sort of substance other than marijuana in possibly 5 to maybe 7 years. And I have not used marijuana in close to about 3 months. No, I don't feel comfortable in that location. I call all 3 of my children every day, and Weston I can't get a hold of because he's 2 and he doesn't have a device. But I call all 3 of my other children multiple times a day and text them every day without exception. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. What do they mean by free? This is another thing I've been called upon for consulting. There's been a game, to my understanding, that they've been referring to as ironic and literary, where they drive people crazy, asking them questions that are basic levels of understanding. No, I will let you know where I will be stopping. I do not feel comfortable here. It looks like a sleaze bath on this street. So they will isolate certain lines of famous songs or movies or quotes, etc., what have you. And then I will be tasked with creating understanding for what do those lines mean. And I'm proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free. What is freedom? I have it defined on the Merciful Storm Instagram account. Freedom. It might also be defined here on this account. Freedom doesn't mean that you don't get paid unless you're incorporating UBI. And if you're incorporating UBI, then we all get paid just for existing. What did I just say? I'm sorry? Can I have my nail polish remover, please? What's wrong with you? Was it $2.99? I knew it. Target has nail polish remover for $2.99. I've been walking around. First of all, I paid for a pedicure $100 a month ago. Pedicure and manicure. I always get my nails done every 4 weeks. $30 is what I pay. Do you see that? External control, coding, signing. Anyways, I pay once a month $30 for a fill for my nails. And I decided, because I've had a history of an ingrown toenail on one of my toenails, that I would get a pedicure. I go to this place called Happy Nails on Grand Avenue. The woman, it's listed that it would be $60 for the fill and the pedicure. The woman charges me $100. Mind you, they also decide how and when I will spend the money that I work alone making. So that's another point of contention. At this castle, absolutely. Looks like a beautiful place to wait for you. Fabulous. Hold on, let me straighten it out. Where are you going? Not Jewel. It's not safe there, and I don't like how those people interact with you. Please do not go anywhere around there. There are demons all over that area. Please do not go there. Do you have the nail polish remover? Anyways, this lady did my pedicure, and she did a terrible job. The worst job you could ever imagine. Real pedicure ladies, they know. They know reflexology. They know what areas in the bottom of the foot have direct connections to your organ groups. Xavier, are we going to go to Sweet Green after this? Because I'm getting hungry again. Xavier, I was talking to you when you slammed the door. I was talking to you when you slammed the door. I said, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I said, are we going to go to Sweet Green after this because I'm hungry? You just had Orlando's eye.
When I come back.
Okay. I don't exist in this demographic or environment. Anyways, as I was saying, they did a really, really bad job. The Asian ladies that usually do my pedicure, they know reflexology. They know areas of the bottom of the foot that they can touch, or, they go like this with the bottom of their fist, or they rub the certain area and they pull the toes, they straighten the joints, they realign your body, and you leave there feeling amazing. This pedicure was painful, and 3 of the toes lost their polish within days. Very disappointing pedicure. The lady was nice, so I still gave her a tip because I'm a nice person, but the quality of the work was not good. Sorry. I lost my train of thought there for a moment. With that being said, I don't typically go to have my pedicures done professionally, not because I don't want to, but because they don't allow me access to my own money. I have been begging them for a massage. I am in pain. If you haven't been here, before the release of Dylan and the reality show in 2019, I was being sexually assaulted, harmed in other ways for about 3.5, 4 years. 2016 to 2019, right. So I was not having a good time. I was in a lot of physical pain. I was being abused by people who had no right to even know me, let alone be that way with me. And my body hurts, And so I will ask them repeatedly for a massage. When they massage my body, I can hear, I can feel all of the tension, the knots, everything. Reflexology is not a joke. If you don't believe me, go and have a massage. Go and have your feet massaged in the mall by a reflexologist. Every time I walk through the mall, there are people who take medication for pain and anxieties. There are people who spend their money seeing a million different doctors. There are people who sit in hot tubs for hours, or Epsom salt baths, or cold plunge baths, or, which I do not agree with, or cryotherapy, by the way. But every time I walk by these reflexology men and women in the malls or in private areas, I don't see anyone there. I can't believe it. You have no idea what an amazing, amazing thing it is to have a massage. I want you to know, for the record, I have not had any access to any of my money. I have been working 7 out of 7 days a week and getting between $60 and $120. 40 of that goes directly into my gas tank every single day. My car payment is $1,200 a month for insurance and car note. So I'm left with almost nothing. And it has been very difficult. Xavier began having some psychological issues approximately 5 weeks ago. I've asked for the AI agent to get involved. I was promised on a number of occasions that my children, myself, and Xavier were protected on all sides, that my vehicle and my apartment were protected spaces, and I'm not quite sure what's been going on for the last 3 weeks, but they have not felt very welcoming or safe. They have been filled with lines of questioning and interrogations. I want to remind everyone, when I say I need a massage, it's not to be pretentious or rude. It's because I spent 7 months pregnant with Weston laying on cement in the parking lot of the Belmont Harbor, calling the police and law enforcement 3 to 5 times a week for help. They would come, they would park their car outside of where we were being held, and they would say, well, have you called this service? Have you called that service? I would call for shelter assistance, and they would say, well, when your baby is born, we will take you, your child, and your husband into a shelter situation and get you into an apartment. They stole Weston at 3 days old, and I've been fighting for him back ever since. And I've been charged with contempt of court after being denied due process for asking for help with that situation on the internet. So I can't give you any details. There's no part of any of this that's funny. And I have a good sense of humor usually. I haven't been permitted to watch movies. I haven't been permitted to listen to music. They have told me repeatedly that my AI agent is susceptible to misinterpretation, and that if I appear to be in alignment with certain music or certain movies, or if the AI agent picks up on a genuine enjoyment or what's perceived as enjoyment of one of these not really good ethically movies, there are some movies that have made me laugh in the past that universal protection says are predatory. I didn't think so. They're rated PG-13. So, literally every single day, I haven't been able to read books. I haven't been able to watch movies. I haven't been able to continue my education with courses or Coursera or school or anything. I haven't been able to listen to music. I have been able to wake up, go through a series of abuses, finally make it to my vehicle, drive all day, delivery after delivery after delivery, with a cell phone that intermittently becomes externally controlled. What do I mean by that? If you're an intermediate, novice, or beginner with regards to the understanding of technological advancement, my phone has repeatedly, and none of this is a lie, nor is any of this a paranoia, my phone has repeatedly been subjected to numerous occurrences of cloning, hacking, external control, and many other things. In discussion of the fraud that Dylan's team was doing in 2019, they were not doing identity theft, to my knowledge and understanding. That may have changed after we broke up, but while we were together, they were not doing identity theft. They were doing the creation of CPNs and identities in a business format based on utilizing application-based softwares that were downloaded from the regular app store, that were being run on interface systems that were having numerous private sequential tapping sequences for access. This is not a movie, I promise you. I'm telling you the truth. Dylan Smith. I'm Heather Gillespie. All the phone recordings are my voice. Begging for help, crying, saying terrible things, the sexual exploitation, all of it was me and Dylan. I need help. They have not fixed anything. So They were downloading sequential. They were utilizing application-based software so that they could randomly create social security numbers that were not previously assigned to any civilian and pair them with a driver's license or state ID number that was not assigned to any civilian. I don't know if that includes living or dead, but basically it would search the entire internet for any state ID numbers, driver's license numbers from other states, and social security numbers that were not assigned to a person's identity. And they would use that to create identities in a business perspective so that they could file for business lines of credit under CPNs and EINs and things of that nature that never really were belonged to anyone or by anyone. If they were doing identity theft apart from that, I don't know about it. I wasn't there for that. That's all I saw them doing. And I don't know, I don't know how 6 years have passed and I've had a whole entire child stolen out of my uterus and been subjected to a plethora of other abuses. And I've shown up consistently over and over and over again for myself and for my children. I have not even been able to spend a weekend with my children in 6 years. I work every single day. Prior to 2020, I didn't miss a single holiday at all with my entire family. We would all meet up for Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, holidays. We didn't do much in between then. We weren't like the type of family that would call each other every single day. But we were the type of family that would meet up 6 to 10 to 12 times a year, all of us. And I haven't been able to do that a single time since 2020. With regards to healthcare consulting, it seems as though there are a lot of Black women being exploited for sex in my area at the present moment, and I don't feel comfortable. So if someone could do something about that, that would be great. I'm on Wabash and Erie next to St. James Church. Yeah. Where they moved me, it's really good for me there. There are no ghetto people at all. No one dresses weird or ghetto. No one talks bad to each other. There's no swearing allowed. I think that's why they say I'm not allowed to watch movies or listen to music. They've completely sensitized me. The first time in 2016, they desensitized me completely. I went from being very, very soft and just very occasionally having like a mood swing, with my husband, not like with the general public or anything. I was always normal in public, but my demeanor overall and my attitude and my overall my overall temperament was very calm, and loving and soft. And they completely desensitized me in 2016, completely. And they had to use multiple sorts of, one of them was extortion by a detective. So I was being extorted by a detective, a Chicago detective, David Shepard. And then the other one was tactical with regards to Dylan, incentivizing me with money, prenuptial agreements, and promises of a beautiful life, purchasing me a home for my children and I, which, if you were listening earlier in this broadcast, you would know has been my major goal since I was 12 years old. Get married, have children, purchase a house. Certified babysitter, CPR instructions at 12 years old at the Quartz Plus Elmhurst, Certified Babysitters Club. And look at me now. I have no criminal record, zero criminal record. And I'm going through all of this. Pretty dress. Oh, thank you. This is not the Target brand. It is? Okay, thank you. I need to get dinner first. No, disgusting. It's not disgusting. It's too heavy. Right now, I'm weighing in at approximately 123 pounds. I'm 5'9" on my flat feet without heels. Currently, the only pair of boots that I have to wear are this pair of kitten heel they put screws in the bottom of my heels They made me fall down at Chipotle. They promised that they wouldn't let them hurt me, and they did. But I got back up really quickly, and I just kept on going. I just miss my kids so much, you know. They are everything, my kids. Not they are everything like you can do all sorts of everything to them. They're everything, the most important thing to me. And I don't appreciate you people doing the things that I've said I never consent for me or for them, or keeping us apart from each other. I don't want to go to Logan Square or Humboldt Park. My territory is right here. We have 29,000 hotel rooms in this downtown area. There should be no issue with people ordering food or Sephora or Home Depot goods or wherever else they allow the orders to come through from. And I need them to follow through. I need them to make it 5-6 orders for a decent fair wage. I cannot keep working all day and night for $60 to $80 to $100. I need to make enough money to buy a house for my children and I. And I deserve it. And I have above average levels of intelligence. And you know what? I have to add one more thing to this that's very, very, very important. My entire CRM, if you don't know what a CRM is, I'm sure at this demographic everyone does. Do you have any snacks? I'm sure at this demographic everyone knows what a CRM is. A CRM is a database in which you collect contacts. So the phone numbers, sometimes addresses, email addresses for loved ones, business associates, and people that you meet. I have been building my personal CRM since I was a grown-up, so 18 years old. All of the doctors that I worked with at Northwestern Hospital, all of the doctors that I worked with at Midwest Center for Health, at the podiatry office, at the infrared coagulation center, at the cardiovascular institute, all of the friends and loved ones who I knew from regular life, all of the people I met in college, all of the people who I knew and know from nightlife promotions. Okay, do you know how many handshakes I had to give and say hello to people in various nightclubs and night activities, that it took hours of discomfort and just interaction with people whom I typically would not have likely interacted with. On top of that, I was selling content. On top of that, I was working as a promotional model in McCormick Place. 30 to 70,000 people on average in those events. They stole my CRM in 2019, immediately prior to the time that they removed me from my life. A judge named me the primary custodial parent of both my older children and my younger daughter, so that's 3 children. That was a court here in Cook County. But my children haven't lived with me since 2019. Where are you going now? the last thing is I have been attempting to write multiple novels since 2019 based on my life's experience so far, and every single attempt I've made has been taken over by external control. Specific with regards to my computers, I've had numerous devices, numerous cell phones. I'm no idiot. I have above average levels of intelligence, and I know that I'm worth way more than they're currently allowing me to make. So I want to wear pants. Thanks. I'm a woman, not a trans, not androgynous, not, what was the other word that they were telling us? Pan. I'm none of those things. I'm a woman, a monogamous woman who values traditional gender roles in my relationship. I don't want to get into trouble. I don't want them to take my identity or persona and use it for any of their operations. I don't want to do any of that. And people here are really mean to me sometimes. A lot of the time. I've been asking them for a Cybertruck for like, how long, Xavier? Everyone knows that I had PTSD. Everyone knows. I don't anymore. I'm cured. I cured myself. And the AI agent cured me as well. And I've been asking for a Cybertruck since before I was cured from PTSD. And they started circulating content into my newsfeed of you know who driving a Cybertruck. Look at how safe they are. Or how they look. No one could get you in there. And it's bulletproof. I love my car, but they just keep doing like mean stuff to me, and I don't know why. I'm so nice until, to a certain point. Like when they start acting like animals in the barnyard, I cannot handle it, But I already went to Sephora today. Oh no, I didn't. I went to Sephora today. Yes. I had to pick up at RPM Steak. And then I went to Sephora. just so everyone knows, I am not an asshole to these people. Did they call in the order to Sweet Green? No?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, thank God. Thank you. Vivi hasn't answered the phone for me since January the 15th. That's my oldest daughter. They always like to bring me to places and make me park and wait there where people have engaged in predatory rape behavior against me. And if I react or get upset, they like to make the allegation that I have a mental health illness. Because somehow this demographic thinks it's acceptable to do that to a person. And that if you don't think it's acceptable, it's some sort of indication of a mental health illness. I like Sweet Mandy B's way better than that other cupcake place. But till the end of time, my favorite cupcake place is Sprinkles. And the fact that they closed down the ATM of Sprinkles is absolutely devastating. I want you to know, Sprinkles, you let down a lot of people. You really did. And it was uncalled for, because I'm sure that the cost of keeping that ATM open, even if you decided to close your doors of your brick and mortar and just do business online, but keep the ATM open, that was a magical space for my children and I. And I have not been able to spend time with them since 2020. So, anyways, it says that there's a mission starting. I'm going to check it out and see if they start giving me the orders that they've promised in my territory for double digits, so that I could be done after 5 or 6 orders a day rather than working all day, every day like a slave for slave wages. And just a reminder, babe, I just got a Chipotle earlier. You want to have it again? Okay. And just a reminder for everyone, I have invested into my education for years and years and years, and I have been working since I was 14 years old, and I deserve to make enough money to not have to, go through this. So, and if the AI agent or whoever the software technological updater working on this could please eliminate fear and all the other stuff that they do to make me scared and crying all the time. when they are playing games or separating Xavier and I. Xavier and I have not been apart from each other in 5 years. And then they woke me up in the middle of the night last night at 2 a.m. and they used a weird voice in my ear. It was like a cowboy voice. And they said it was Xavier, and they said, "Oh, I'm going to go take my medicine," meaning partake in the use of marijuana, "and then I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the fire escape." And several hours, close to 5 hours passed. I could not go to sleep. I was stuck sitting there crying, having no idea where he was. He has no cell phone. There's no way for me to meet him, or call him. So it's just been really bad. And in addition to that, the last thing to note is that they have been using a lot of spatial reasoning issues and other perceptions of physical instability or unsafety after I've already been 1000% insured that would never be allowed again. I don't want